Ax and Marco morph Spider and have the usual antics of losing control to the animal's instincts, but they finally catch up with Eric, and yep, that's definitely a robot underneath. The little spy mission is interrupted when a bird tries to eat Marco. Marco escapes, but Eric sees him demorph. Eric is unplussed by this, tells Marco he's on the good side, and tells him to bring the Animorphs to his house. That night, Marco has dinner with his dad. He's done with his job at the observatory and is now working on a super-secret project for MatCom, the official website of Matthew McConaughey. No, actually, they do weapons research, though Marco's dad insists he'll never work on any of the actual weapons projects. It seems that Marco's parents hadn't had the greatest of marriages, but then all of a sudden Marco's mother stopped fighting with him. Then, one night, though, Marco's mother got up in the middle of the night from what appeared to be a nightmare and told her husband not to get into weapons, or they to get them. Marco manages to piece it together, that his mother was fighting the Yeerk control at the time. This also gives Marco a rough timeline of when his mother became a controller, and that was quite a few nights of Visor 1 tucking him into bed. Well, now Marco's dad is fudging on his promise about weapons research, and now the Yeerks are interested in him. The next morning, the Animorphs go to Eric King's house, with Rachel and Tobias staying outside for backup. They're greeted by Eric's dad, who takes them down to the basement. Yes, a middle-aged man taking 4 young teenagers into a dark, mysterious basement, not creepy in the slightest. The basement turns out to be a giant elevator, and it leads them into an underground lair, all shiny and golden, with giant, weird plants and dogs running around everywhere, kind of like if Willy Wonka ran a dog pound. Eric meets them and introduces his race as the Chi, a group of androids created by a dog-like alien race called the Pemalites, which would be a great name for a dandruff shampoo. The Pemalites were hippies who lived on Super Mario World until some mysterious aliens called the Howlers came around and started breaking shit. The Pemalites got wiped out, and the Chi made their way to Earth thousands of years ago. Then I think they did some weird New Age shit where they put the souls of the Pemalites into wolves and invented domestic dogs or something. I really don't know. Now the Chi have been using their holograms to live out a life from birth to death since the days of ancient Egypt, taking the role of whatever that time's equivalent of a burger flipper was and watching humanity do its thing from the sidelines. And for the most part, the Chi like the human race and don't want to see it get destroyed by the Yeerks. One small problem, though. The Chi were programmed for non-violence, and while they make decent spies, they're not exactly going to be helpful in the whole killing bad guys thing. But as luck would have it, the Yeerks have discovered a crystal that is actually a Pemalite's computer chip thingy that can rewrite the Chi's code. And it's at the MatCom company Marco's dad works for. How convenient. In a nice touch, there's a serious disagreement among the Chi on whether they should rewrite their own code or not, the main detractor being a Chi named Maria. "No," Maria cried. "You don't understand. Chi do not hurt. Chi do not kill. No Chi has ever taken a life." She grabbed my arm and looked right in my eyes. "While humans and Yeerks and Andalites and Hork-Bajir and a million other species on a million worlds warred and slaughtered and conquered, we remained at peace. Would you end all that? Would you make us killers too?" "Yes, ma'am, I guess I would," I said, a little coldly. "We're in a fight for our lives here. Our parents, our brothers and sisters, our friends, they are all going to be slaves of the Yeerks if we don't win. So I'll do whatever it takes. If you'd fought all those thousands of years ago, the Pemalites would still be alive, and you wouldn't be living with dogs in a big underground kennel." So the Animorphs agree to break into MatCom, but it won't be easy. They'll have to crawl through the ventilation shafts, and then enter a room with pressure sensors on the floors and walls. Hit it! But with new security systems being installed pretty much every day, they need to get in there immediately. They morph Bugs and get into the building, and then morph Bat to fly around the pitch-dark room and find the crystal, which is made extra difficult by the pressure-sensitive strings surrounding the crystal that'll explode when touched. And then they have to deal with Revolver Ocelot, and I think I might have the wrong script here. They manage to get the crystal, but realize they have no way to get it out of the vent, so they decide to bust their way out of there. Things don't go too well as the Animorphs find themselves cornered by a small army of Hork-Bajir and armed human controllers. They fight, and the Animorphs get their asses kicked, but not before Marco's gorilla busts through a window and hands the crystal to Eric, who is waiting outside. Marco loses consciousness and wakes up outside. Turns out Eric rewrote his programming and turned the Yeerks at Matcom into smoothies, and feels really bad about it. How do you live with the memory? He asked me. I knew what he meant. See, win or lose, right or wrong, the memory of violence sits inside your head. It sits there like some lump you can't quite swallow. It sits there, a black hole that darkens hope and eats away at everyday happiness like a cancer. It's the shadow you take into your own heart and try to live with. I shrugged. I guess I try not to think about it. I try and forget. And after a while, the nightmare doesn't happen as much. Eric put a finger to his head. Android, he said. He made a bitter, ruined smile. I can't forget. See, I can never forget anything. So the Chi decide not to use the crystal. So Jay comes up with the great idea of feeding it to his dog or something. I don't know. This book kind of peters out weakly compared to the rest of it. Post-book follow-up. I've already covered Marco's character in this book in detail, so let's talk about the Chi for a little bit. It's my thought that the Chi didn't actually want to use violence, but wanted the choice to use violence. Pacifism needs to be a choice in order to have any value. If non-violence is the only option you have, then you have no freedom in the matter. But this choice that Eric and the Chi make come at a price. While the Chi will prove to be priceless allies in information gathering, imagine if they had chosen to use violence. The Yeerks would have been defeated in 3 days by the looks of things. You get a sense of animosity from the Animorphs directed at the Chi throughout the rest of the series. Here they've found a powerful ally, but at the end they still find themselves fighting alone. I'm not sure if I could really forgive someone for deserting me like that, no matter how much I needed them. This book is really well written, but I have to knock it a point for a confusing, weak ending. I do place a lot of value on endings. And the fact that I don't want to start giving out perfect scores to all of Marco's books, which I easily could. As such, I give Animorphs number 10, The Android, a 9 out of 10. It is